We're now being joined by Dr. Avner Cohen, who's a professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies, Middlesbrough Institute. He's joining us live from California in the US. Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for making time and joining us. Always a pleasure getting your insights on trending issues. So, of course, Lebanon and Israel, from the south, shift seems to have now happened completely towards the north of Israel. Is this the start of a large-scale war which is going to engulf other parts of West Asia as well? Do you see it that way?
It's difficult to say. There is, so to speak, an effort to have controlled escalation. Israel is trying to double its attack, to escalate in order to force Hezbollah to reach some kind of arrangement. It has been escalated. It's very close to a war. Some say it's already a war, but there are still some limits. In other words, it's not a war without constraints. How far it would go at this point, it's difficult to say. Israel, except a very effort to have targeted hit at some Hezbollah leaders, has avoided so far Beirut, in particular the Doha area, which is where the Hezbollah is located. And so far, Hezbollah has avoided central Israel, including Tel Aviv. So it's uncertain, and it's unclear how it could be unfolded. It's a certain kind of effort of both sides to force each other to concessions, and it's unclear how it could unfold.
Yes, Dr. Cohen, what we've seen of both sides, I think aggression has not been the way to get either side to concede to anything. So, of course, it only seems to be heading towards more escalations in times to come.
Right. Dr. Cohen, news just coming in that the ex-CIA chief has said that we are clearly walking into a much wider war, something which you've also just outlined here. But I want to seek your assessment on the role of the United States of America in all of this and the impact of rising tensions between Israel and Hezbollah. How will that impact a Gaza ceasefire deal, which has perhaps been Biden's top priority before he leaves the office later in November? And do you think that the events that we've seen in the region in the last 48 hours has perhaps quickly moved out of U.S. control?
It's also unclear. So far, and somewhat surprisingly, we have seen very limited American action. Essentially just talks, not action, and not even a forceful talk. Apparently, the United States has asked Israel or pushed Israel not to start any ground operation, and such operation there is no sign that it's about to start anytime soon. Israel does not have enough force in the Galilee to start a ground operation. So much of the fighting, and essentially almost the entire fighting, aside from artillery exchanges, is by the Israeli Air Force. And as I said, there are still constraints. The United States is a very precarious period because it's just 45 or less than 45 days before the election. There is a great deal of sensitivity not to hurt the campaign of Vice President Harris. So the White House has avoided very much taking any strong action. How far it will go, it's open questions. Also, we know that they have pushed some forces back towards the Middle East, trying to give some sense of assurance or some sense of deterrence to others not to intervene.
There's an increase in US forces.
I think we are, just to finish this, we have moved to uncharted territories. The Israelis are working by philosophy of we'll do with power. If power does not satisfy, does not meet its our request, we'll have more power. How far this could go, it's an open question, difficult to say.
It's definitely uncharted territory, as you rightly pointed out. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Avner Cohen, Professor of Non-Proliferation and Terrorism Studies, joining us from California. Always a pleasure speaking with you, sir.
Thank you.